Welcome, all of you out there in Radio Land, to our Veterans Never Stop Serving podcast. We're privileged to have you listening in today to learn more about these amazing post 9/11 veterans who have graduated from our Bridge for Education program. Our mission in these podcasts is to give these veterans an opportunity to tell their stories about their military service to our nation, their injury, post-injury, medical rehabilitation, transition home into higher education, and onto successful careers, kind of where they were and where they are today. Today's guest is Lance Corporal Brian Vargas, United States Marine Corps retired. And we're going to talk to Brian here a little bit about his journey. And I think you'll find it very inspiring. So good morning, Brian.
Good morning, Mike. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You're looking pretty slick there, pretty dapper.
Yeah, always have to keep it on point.
you got your assistant with you?
I do. She's right here. Say hi, Nala. Nala's my right hand, right hand woman right there.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, as you know, we found her we rescued her in Mexico on a.
I remember.
When we were building houses out there at Rotary. You guys, Sentinels guys, connect with Rotary, and that was an awesome experience to be able to challenge my leadership skills and my the infantry skills that they gave me with filling sandbags. It was a little bit different over there, packing dirt and mud to build houses, but same concept. Same concept.
I'm always amazed, Brian, by we call you, those of you in our program, Sentinels. Mm-hmm. And of course we track you and we ask questions, and one of the questions are you doing anything volunteering? And it turns out that 85% of our Sentinels are doing something in their community, volunteering in some way, whether it's with their church or a little league or a football team or other organizations, or helping veterans. And you would think that after all you've gone through, you would say, I've done enough. I don't need to do that. But you guys, like we say, our motto, veterans never stop serving. And it's just an amazing thing to watch. And of course, we're all very proud of you to begin with, but you make us even more proud by your volunteerism. So it's been a pleasure, a real honor to be one of your mentors. And of course, you have several, but we met a long time ago. And I remember when you first met me and came into my office and talked, and of course you didn't know anything about us. And I remember you had a pretty good, kind of, I would say, not minor trembling in your hands. You were very nervous. You were still having some effects of PTS, and but you fought it off, and you moved on and got into education, graduated. Now you get your master's degree. And so tell us a little bit about I like you to talk about your journey, and for our listeners, and it's powerful, it's inspiring, and we want to have get your story out along with the other 700 Sentinels we have in the program across the nation. That 700, that doesn't sound like a big number, but actually
it's a big number.
And when you look at it, all we do, and that our Sentinels are with us for 4 years and sometimes longer, it's quite a job.
I agree. Thank you for having me again, Mike. It's as you said, I would say you were probably my first mentor out of the Marine Corps that helped me find myself and my footing, right? Mm-hmm. Being able to connect with my faith to service and post-service was something that the Sentinels really made me feel comfortable doing. And I would say from the start, like you said, I was pretty nervous. Monica and I walked into that office not really knowing, pretty naive, and just kind of, not sure what's going on. We were a young married couple. But it definitely didn't stop me. And I'm glad that I had that, I had that drive, even though I felt like I started to lose it. When I got out of the Marine Corps in 2009, I got out August 30th, 2009. I was medically retired from the Marine Corps after my injuries in Iraq. And I'll get into that in a little bit more, but it was a transition where I didn't have anywhere to go, right? I was living in my car with my service dog at the time. My stuff was in the back seat. My family was letting me couch surf. The family that I had still here left in California, but it was a very I would say more of a toxic environment. And once I learned, I was like, hey, this isn't the route I need. I left my situation at home and went to the Marine Corps and the military to start anew, really, and change my own path and stop that cycle of, you know, I would say just stop that cycle that my family had been in for a long time. And it helped me gain some confidence in myself. Meeting you that day, from that point on, just walking into the office, I was like, okay, it felt like a place where I belonged. I felt like the Marine Corps and the military became my home and my family. So
Right.
walking into the office, it felt like an extension of that. And there was some nervousness and trembling, but also I felt like the door was wide open. I was like, okay, let's take it off and see what we could do here. Um, it it had been what, maybe a year and a half after Monica and I bought our home. I went from living in a house or from living in my car and couch surfing to, living in a home that Monica was like, hey, you're gonna buy a house. I was like, it just doesn't compute, right? I was like, I don't really get it.
Yeah.
But she was really that first person that was like taking a dive into benefits. And I was like, okay. I was like, what is it? But again, my wife being the leader that she is, she's like, this is something you need to learn and we need to do it together. And then when I learned about the Sentinels of Freedom through a fellow Purple Heart veteran back at Diablo Valley College, he let me know. He was like, hey, this is not necessarily for me, but it might be something that fits with you. And I was like, okay, cool. I remember I was looking for scholar. I was in the transition process of transferring colleges, and uh, well, I mean, a little early on in the system, maybe I was starting to think about transferring. This is definitely something that's going to help guide me that way. And early on, when we got connected and you opened your arms and your doors to me in the Sentinel program, it gave me that confidence I needed to do the work I was doing at Diablo Valley College to help establish that veteran center. Right
Right.
when I was getting out at that time, and veterans were getting out at that time, a lot of colleges just weren't ready for us. We were coming out, in large numbers, and winding up at community colleges because, well, that was a good landing spot for us. It was financially stable, and it helped us out in that transition financially. But at the same time, it gave us a way to, well, connect with each other.
Right.
Unfortunately, at certain colleges like DVC at the time, we just didn't have a center. And so, uh, Ryan Kelly and a few other administrators and yourself helped really put that whole plan together. We presented it to that school, right? And ultimately, by the time 2016 rolled around, those efforts helped get the funding for DVC, LMC, and CCC. Uh, that
Yeah.
was amazing, but it showed me that it's possible to do what I wanted to do. Like, I can help veterans and be me and show the way my unique style of leadership and action in a world that is going to accept me and accept what I'm passionate about, and that's continuing to serve.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that until I lot. I think I was bit by that bug to continue this service after I lost Sean
Hmm.
Webster. Right
Right.
when Sean took his life in 2008, I was in a safe place. I was at the Menlo Park Men's the trauma center for post-traumatic stress. It's an inpatient program. It's a 3 month long program, and it was still in the Marine Corps at the time, but it was one of those life-changing moments. I was like, well, what do I do? And that guidance through there helped me see these folks here that are helping me all have these three letters at the end. I was like, what is an MSW? And once I started digging into that, because I didn't really have that knowledge growing up, I wasn't, how do you say, exposed to college environments or higher education as a kid. Um, so when I kind of put those pieces together, I was like, well, this is the next goal I need to accomplish. I need to get an MSW to be able to do the work I want to do, because that's all I saw. The people that were doing that work that I knew I could do better, or at least more efficiently than they were doing at the time, I was like, well, I need to find a way to get these 3 letters that are super important in today's world. And
Brian, excuse me, but the acronym MSW for our listeners, what is that?
Sorry. That's a master's in social work. So I ended up, traveling that road of higher education through DVC, transferring to UC Berkeley for my undergraduate, right? Ended up giving the commencement speech for my undergrad class, which was awesome, because all those times that I was asked to give a talk for the Sentinels helped build up that confidence to keep sharing my story and watch how it inspires not just veterans, but our general population of folks, because I've been able to be put through situations and life experiences that other folks are going through.
Yeah.
And there's hundreds of times at this point in my life where I've had veterans tell me, thank you for continuing to talk and share what you went through, because I'm just not ready.
Yeah.
The first time I heard a fellow veteran tell me that, I was like, wow. Like, okay, I guess I can't stop. I was like, well, sounds like that's, it just kept that drive going.
Yeah. I think that is kind of a normal thing for veterans. A lot of the older veterans that I know, they don't pound their chest and want to tell stories. They're pretty quiet, professional. Even my own 3 sons who have multiple tours of Afghanistan, Iraq, one of them wounded also. But I, as a father, have always felt that it's not my place to ask them questions about their time overseas. I ask them questions about their training, in the country here, on their bases, and I visit them all the time. We're very close, but I've always felt it's very personal. And when they want to talk about it, I'm here to listen. But until they want to talk about their time over there, and that day never may come, I've always felt, this is personal to them, and it's so personal that you just have to leave it alone. And someday I've told them all, if they ever want to talk about it, I'm here. So it's not abnormal for people to be quiet about their service, but you lost your tribe basically when you came out of the Marine Corps. You're very proud of it. You had some really good friends. You and I have met General Mattis a couple of times, and he's very proud of you also. But it's now it's this transition piece, which is very tough. And that's kind of what we recognized in the beginning is what could we do as an organization? What was our mission? And we were all businessmen. I have no military background. We had a 2-star general retired and another AT&T senior vice president. We sat down and we said, well, what can we do? Well, we can help them get into education and get onto a career and become self-sufficient. They don't want to sit on the front porch and be on the dole, so to speak. But we recognized the transition was going to be difficult. So that's how we started the program, and it's been very successful. But some of the things that you've done, I remember you called me, you found out about the fact that we had started a Student Veterans Resource Center at San Francisco State. That was actually, my son called me and said, they've given us a space to have a veterans club, but they don't have any computers or furniture or anything. So we did that. And from that, you took the lead at Diablo Valley College and got them inspired. And I remember telling you, you have to write me a business plan. And so I took that business plan. I went to the Board of Governors and we did all 3 colleges, and you led that effort. And I'm very, very proud. I mean, we pulled the pieces together, but you were the leader that just kept pushing and pushing. And so there's 500 veterans going to that school now, and they all have access to that center. It's a sanctuary where they can study quietly, use the computers, kind of decompress and talk to each other. And so now we've built, I think, a total of 6 or 7 across. One at Lipscomb University. We're helping Montana State University, San Francisco State, of course, Alameda, DVC, Contra Costa, and Los Medanos, and also Las Positas. We've helped them, and it's so easy to do. We just really think it's something that every community college and university should do. And you're the poster boy for that.
Thank you. It makes me very proud to be able to hold the position I hold now as that director manager for the City College of San Francisco Veteran Services, where I find myself keep serving.
Yes, you are.
I find myself in a world where I'm able to keep giving back, and it fills my heart. It really does fill me with joy. It I don't believe, not that I don't believe, I don't know. I've heard a few sayings, right? I don't have a dream job. I don't dream of labor, right? I like to relax as much as the next person, but I really have a passion for doing, what you love doing each day. And if that is, there's a paycheck attached to that, that's great, right? You get paid by whomever it is. That's cool. But ultimately, I'm just glad I get to share my day from the start to finish with the individuals who are getting out of the military, and I see myself in each one of them at some point in my journey to where I'm at.
Yeah.
And I can just, and it spark a little bit of wisdom in them. And when I see that light bulb hit, I'm like, yeah, all right. Then they're off to the races. I'm like, all right. Then they come back and like, oh, I didn't think of this. Now I'm doing this. And it's just, I'm like, go for it. Keep doing good things, because
you're a Samaritan. I always think of you as a Samaritan. And you remember the story is this young guy was traveling down the road to Jericho, and biblical times, and some thieves set upon him, beat the hell out of him, stripped him naked, took all his goods, left him by the side of the road. And the people walking to the market that morning would walk to the other side of the road and avert their eyes.
Yeah.
And one man came along. He was a Samaritan, and he put this guy on his donkey and took him into town, found somebody that would take care of him and heal him. And he paid for that. And he said, I will be back if you need more money. And I love that story. There's people like you that are Samaritans, and in all of our lives, we've met them, and you can call them mentors or, all different names, but it's a very special person that dedicates their life to helping others. And you're one of those people. And again, we're all so proud of you. Tell us a little bit. You have an upcoming event you have how many students? You have like 1,000 veterans going to.
We have quite a bit. We certify. We have veterans using the post 9/11 GI Bill and chapter 33, the post 9/11, and then VRNE, which used to be called Voc Rehab. So a lot of veterans still just say, "Hey, Voc Rehab," right?
Yeah.
But they changed the name to Veterans Readiness and Employment. They kept the three acronyms VRNE, which is helpful for our brains, which is helpful for our brains to keep track of. But yeah, we certified just this semester. We lost about 200 veterans, but we were expecting that because of the transition back to more in-person courses.
Great.
So this semester was about 650 veterans using Chapter 33, the post 9/11 GI Bill, and about 107 using the VRNE, right? So that to me is a huge number, because that tells me that there's 107 veterans on my campus that are disabled.
Right?
That's 107 disabled veterans, similar to my story, who have at least a 10% or more service-connected disability. Right. And we need to make sure our services, our resource center, and our vet's office is efficient to meet their needs, whether it's mentally, emotionally, what's the word, for brain injuries. Brain injury myself, but it makes sense. It just makes sense to them where they can not feel so overwhelmed by the process that it turns them away, right?
Right.
Cognitively, right? I need to connect with them in a cognitive way that they understand. And so we're trying to do that. Things like creating our website in a manner that is easy and clickable and clean and able for them to be able to use. Especially it's hard for brand new students to come into our school. because you don't know what you don't know, right? And
Right.
sometimes we have folks jumping in at the very last step and they're like, oh, let me get certified. And it's like, well, let's walk them through the steps. And it's one of those things where I get joy. It's definitely one of the things that brings me joy to get to walk them through those steps. But my student workers at the same time, we have about 10 of them. They're able to now, spread that wealth of knowledge that I've, given to them. They share it with their veterans.
Well, you build a
That helps
lot. Yeah, you build a lot of trust, Brian. I think
us.
they trust you.
Yes,
You've
the
been
trust
there.
is big.
Yeah, you've been there, you've done that, and that builds confidence in
Yeah.
themselves. So that's a big
Yeah.
help. You know me. If you see one of those 107 veterans that you think is suitable, and this program isn't for everybody. This isn't
Right.
This isn't a handout. It's an investment.
Yes, sir.
And we expect a return, and that return is that person getting through college, getting onto the career, and becoming self-sufficient and a productive member of their community.
Yes,
And then you've done that. But there's other ways we always like to help too. And so, when you see something that you need at that center, you can call us,
yes,
and we have some
definitely.
very, very strong corporate partners that, when especially education,
Yeah.
is if we call, for instance, the 3 student veterans resource centers we built here in Contra Costa County. It took me one day. I knew what it was going to cost funding.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I called 3 people, 3 companies, and I said, I will match the amount. And I said, it's going to be 50,000 per school to get them up and running, and we'll match at 25. Will you match us? One day I had agreement. And so the heart of America is very strong for our veterans. They just don't know what they can do or how to help.
Right.
And the other thing is, they don't really know what the military does. And so, they can get kind of seem like they're disconnected until you get them in a one-on-one, face-to-face situation. And there's people that talk in sound bites, and then there's people that talk in a long walk. And I've always, with my kids, I always said, we're going to go for a walk and have a talk. And it takes time. And so, that's
yeah, that's good. That's a good point. It leads us to that the Veterans Day event we have coming up. It's the first time in a long time. I started at this job January 6, 2020. It was that alone was a huge struggle because I was there maybe 3 months before we went home permanently for 2.5 years for COVID. So we didn't have any in-person veterans events for a long time. And we also hadn't had a Veterans Day event on this campus, from what I understand, for quite a while.
Yeah.
For quite a while. And wanting to bring that esprit de corps back, right? That form of fellowship for us is something that I wanted to not just have one day, right? So we're doing an event on the 8th of November, the 9th of November, the 10th of November. And on the 11th, which is Veterans Day, right? It's that Friday, where I didn't plan any events that day because typically veterans are finding themselves at an event.
Right.
And so they don't necessarily take that day off, right? So I was kind of, using, I don't know, taking a different tactic this year versus, giving folks that opportunity to spend it with their families, spend it with their loved ones, take advantage of that day for themselves as a Veterans Day that they've given to our country, right?
They earned it. Yeah,
they earned it. Take that day. You can go to an event, go meet up with your friends if you want, for sure, but don't feel obligated to do it. Take that day to rest your knees, ice your back, hang out with your kids. Just take a breather, sleep in a little bit.
Yeah.
And then on the 12th, we'll be having a Veterans Day. We'll be what's it called? We're partnering with our athletics department to have a little Veterans Day acknowledgement at our football game. City College actually won the community college state championship last year, so that last game that we're going to be presenting our veterans out on the field is against San Mateo. It's our last game of the season, so hopefully, hopefully the Rams win. But either way, it's nice just to get those amount of eyeballs on our student veterans, so folks can see, hey, we're here too, like, and we have a veteran on the football team. So it's nice just to bring that full circle for
Okay.
him.
Well,
That being an older veteran, that's hard to do, being on the football team.
yeah. So you let me know what we can do to help. We've talked about you need an iPad for a raffle we have coming up.
Yeah, that'll be nice.
We'll send that out,
Sure.
but I think those veteran students at San Francisco City College are very lucky to have you,
Thank you.
kind of shepherding them and leading them. We always say you guys carry 99.9% of the water, heavy water.
Yes,
We help a little bit, but I think the biggest thing is networking you in to
Mm-hmm.
opportunities, helping you, advising you through your college term.
Right.
And then, getting you around good people that can advise you. Then, of course, continuing talk. I mean, when did you graduate from the program?
Ooh, 2012? No, maybe 2014, 2016.
Yeah.
It was a while ago.
Yeah.
I think I started 2012.
And we're still talking and we're still doing things together. And you were at our gala this year, and that was awesome to have you and Monica there, and all the Marines in the Bay Area that were active. I think we had 50 of them, and we hosted them. We had some great speakers, and really came out wonderful. So, I think that the main thing is, yes, these two wars are over. We're very close to another conflict that I hope we don't get involved in Europe, Taiwan, South Korea. I mean, it's a dangerous world out there. And we have, 1.8 million military members out there every day around the globe.
We are a dangerous fighting force. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, about 200,000 military members retire every year.
Yeah.
Out of that 200,000, 16,000 are medically retired.
Yeah.
And out of that 16,000, about 3,000 are above 50 to 60%. We've kind of, in our metrics, it turns out that almost the big majority of our Sentinels are above 80%. Okay. And disabled. And I don't like to use that word. My feeling is we have to focus on potential. There's nothing I can do about the injury. It's done, and you'll fight it the rest of your life. You've had operations since you got out. A couple operations, So what can we do? Well, we want to focus on your potential and help you maximize that potential. And that's what we do. And again, you guys carry all the heavy water, but it's a real honor to be able to do that.
Definitely. I never thought getting, the way I was wounded in combat, right, we're in a firefight, and that, engagement, the enemy, if you want to say it that way, saw me before I could see him. And that sniper round went through my left hand, went through my face, and I never thought that would become one of the best days of my life, right? It was a hard day. It was my mom's birthday, right? January 17th. It's my mom's birthday. I was wounded January 17th of 2007.
Right.
But I would say that day, as impact, you're saying, it's with me. I carry that with me every day.
Yeah.
And I could have let it become the worst day of my life, which it was for a little bit. But taking ownership of that event is something that the Sentinels definitely helped me grasp and understand that if I give that ownership over to the injury and to those folks that wanted to take my life, well, then they ultimately win, right?
Right.
They have the last laugh, if you will.
Yeah.
But the scar on my face, the scars on my hands, the injury in my brain, the back pain, each step I take that hurts, it's just a reminder that, hey, I'm still here. I can hurt waking up. I can hurt going to sleep, but it's the external and internal support systems that I've been able to build that help me to help others, right? And keep serving. So taking ownership over that has been big.
And you have a great wife that's very
Oh,
supportive.
Monica, for sure.
Yeah. Well,
For sure.
good stuff. Well, let me close out by saying thank you again, Brian. Semper Fi. Thanks for coming on the podcast series today and
Thanks for having me.
sharing your story. It's a very inspiring story, your personal story. And again, our slogan is veterans never stop serving, and you are a huge example of that. We honor one company or individual every podcast, and we never tell them we're going to do this. We send it to them later. They don't pay us to say these things, but Chevron has been one of our huge supporters since we started some 20 years ago. And their support has been outstanding. Not only have they supported us financially, but they've hired several of our Sentinels, and they're off into great careers. They are a premier supplier of vital energy products to our nation, but also to our military branches. And so we want to thank Chevron very much and continue this relationship with them. Great company. So I'd like to ask all of our listeners to tune in again. Every week we highlight stories of more of our Sentinels in the Bridge for Education program. And we appreciate your support. You're helping our nation meet our responsibility to these amazing veterans who have served and sacrificed much by doing so. They have certainly earned a place at our nation's table of abundance and opportunity. You can also learn more about our program on our website, www.sentinelsoffreedom.org. Thank you again. We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we'll share it with others in your network. Until then, this is Mike Conklin signing off.